Welcome to Better, the podcast about doing better, being better, and leaving the world a better place than we found it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Better, do better, be better, make the world a better place. On recording with Apple and Spotify and every service imaginable. Go to betterpodcast.live for everything to do with the podcast. I also right here have my friends. Hey, Shauna, my girlfriend's on. I'm doing a live. So a lot of people ask me why I don't do that anymore. I did a few episodes of a live back in the day. And people are like, well, why don't you do that again? So that's what I'm doing. So if anybody's got questions in the middle, right now there's not a lot of people on, but I'm sure I'll get more people on in a bit. So this episode is called How Does Doing Better Start? And before I get into it, though, I want to talk about this more intimate lighting that I've got going on here. I figured I'd try something different, try something a little more casual, a little more, close. And this is my fourth attempt at this podcast. So I recorded one, the software ate it and spit it out into the universe and it's gone. And then, you can never quite get them as good as you did them the first time. At least that's what I found. And that's what Jay-Z tells me with his one take wonder. So I'm going to attempt to make this the fourth time is the charm. And before I start, you know what I'm going to say? The Last First Date, my book on Amazon. Go grab it. By the time this comes out, it will be out, fully out. This is the hardcover copy. There's a paperback copy. There's an ebook copy. And eventually there will be an audiobook copy. We're not going to talk about why the audiobook copy isn't coming out March 1st with the with all the other editions, but it will. It'll come out eventually. What's up, Skylar? Okay, so this episode, getting all the housekeeping out of the way, this episode is all about where does being better start? So I have interviewed a lot of people now for this show. I have also gotten a lot of better moments from celebrities. And it occurs to me that there is a certain theme from everybody. And that theme is humility. But I don't think that's actually where being better starts. When I think of my personal journey of trying to be better in my life, trying to do things better, I fumble the football all the time. I make mistakes constantly when it comes to this because it's like one of the hardest things you can do as a human being. But I think it starts with a word, a very important word. And it's kind of funny that Shauna's on the live stream because it has become a big realization since I've been dating her. That word, the word that leads to being better, can you guess it? Can anybody in the live stream guess it? What is the number one word that leads to being better in life? What is the one word that makes you better? Nobody's guessing it. Okay, well, time's up. That word is sorry. So I remember back in the day before I was starting my better journey when I was in the nightclubs and it's an unapologetically pathological career path and industry in terms of the lies and the and a lot of them are what we'll call soft lies, right? Oh yeah, the room's packed, you should get down here. Or oh yeah, this person said they're going to stop by. And then those people lied about stopping by and you lied about them stopping by, right? So there was a lot of that happening. And, coming up in that industry, there's almost a hardened rule in that industry never to say sorry. So somebody has a bad experience. You never want to say sorry. You want to say, oh, that sucks. Do you want a free bottle? You never say sorry for anything. And I hated that, but I went with it because it was the only life I knew. I started DJing in my teen years. I started DJing in bars in my teen years. I started promoting and working in the clubs. And then it just lasted forever. I did TV shows in the clubs. And once I stepped away, because I was starting to feel like the industry was a little too gross for me. Once I finally stepped away, I realized there were so many corruptions of my code, we'll say. Okay, so I'm pretending I'm a robot here. So many corruptions of my code that I had to deprogram myself from everything I learned. And I remember a very specific instance. So I was out of the clubs and I was in Las Vegas, and I had told a friend I would do something for him. I didn't do it for him, and it ended up causing ripple effects. And those ripple effects ended up um, costing him quite a bit. Now, it wasn't money, but it was reputation and humility and things like that. And that's not something I ever want to do to a friend, obviously. So, what I did was I went over to his place, and actually it did cost him a little bit of money now that I think about it. Went over to his place, and he was like, dude, I can't believe you let me down. You've never let me down before. And he's reading me the riot act. And my programming up until this moment in time was to, here's a free bottle, right? Instead of saying the word, it was, well, I'm busy, so you can't expect me to be able to do everything all the time. And it was just a lot of excuses and reasons and justifications that popped into my head. And then I ignored all of that because I saw it in his face that he was hurt by what I had done. And I said, man, you know what? I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that to you. Here's what happened. It's not an excuse or reason or anything. I'm just telling you what happened. So it gives you a little bit of understanding as to what the deal is, but I'm sorry. And how can I make it up to you? There it was. All of a sudden, I felt a little bit better. And he looked at me with a little bit less hurt. And that last part, so it started with sorry. And that last part, what can I do to make it better? That was very important. And he said to me, and this is something I've adopted since then. He said to me, A, B, and C. These are the three things you need to do to make it better. These are the three things you need to do to make it up to me. And I did those three things, and we're still friends to this day. And then I had a friend who shall remain nameless. But essentially, the deal is I told him not to do something because it would be against me. It would be against the people in my life. Not in a way of like, not in a way of hurting us so much, but it was more about disrespecting us. And I knew it was within his wheelhouse. It was within his character set, within his value set to do it, not to hurt anybody, but just as a compulsion, as a way that he lives his life. And so I told him ahead of time, I said, don't do the thing. And he did the thing. And this was I think probably 3 or 4 months after I did the thing to my friend, and then he told me what I needed to do to make up for it when I said sorry, and it all worked out. So I called him. I said, I can't believe you did the thing. What is wrong with you? Like, I just read him the riot act. I was so angry, so very angry. And and he's like, I'm sorry. He just constantly said, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know what I was thinking. But he didn't follow it up with that. What can I do to make it better? Right. And so I said to him, I said, sorry is good. Sorry tells me you understand you should be saying it. But action, I need action. If you don't give me action, then the sorry is really just a word. Sorry is kind of like the gateway drug to humility, to being better. So he said, well, what do you expect me to do? I said, give me 15 minutes. It's like, seriously? I said, yeah. So he gives me 15 minutes. I call him back. And I said, I'm sending you a text right now. And I sent him a text message. Now, this thing was pretty bad. Like, the thing I did to my friend was, it was an inconvenience. It wasn't great, but it didn't disrespect me and everybody around me. Right. So this thing was pretty bad. So I sent him a list. Like, we're not talking A, B, and C. We're talking the whole damn alphabet. And not literally, but it was a long list. And he gets the text. He said, what is this? I said, this is everything you can do to make it up to me. He said, this is insane. Why would I ever do this? I said, because our friendship's on the line. He said, seriously? Our friendship's on the line? I said, dude, you have no idea the Pandora's box you have opened. You should have an idea, but you don't. And I think you don't have an idea because you do not have the humility to understand what it's like to actually hurt other people. So we get off the phone, a couple days go by, And he calls me back and he says, okay, I did the first thing. I said, oh, really? He said, yes. And he shows me the proof he did the first thing. I said, okay, like 184 more things, not literally, but a bunch of things to go. And when you're done those things, you are forgiven. Now, this might come off high and mighty. Maybe you think this is high and mighty of me to make these demands. But what I really felt was that if I didn't draw action out of him, if I just allowed him to say, yeah, I'm sorry, and then we moved on, it could happen again. And this was pretty damning behavior that he would do. And if he did it to somebody, he might do it to the wrong person and it wouldn't go very well. So he did the things and I forgave him and it all worked out. And he's never done it again. And he never did it again because he was better. So before I give you the rest of the story and the rest of why I believe that better always starts with sorry, I want to bring in a better moment from Mr. Kick Push himself, a hip hop legend. Love this guy. I've listened to every song of his 1,000 times on repeat. If you don't know him, you should go check out his music, download it, get him, a few of those cents from streaming. And if you ever see there's a concert with him coming through your neighborhood, he'll probably be doing not giant venues, but big venues. Go see him. His live show is ridiculous. He is the ultimate lyricist. Here's a better moment from Lupe Fiasco.
Jay, you have a question. Can you tell me a time when you had to do better and how you went about starting out? You don't realize you have to do better at something until after it happens, after you fuck something up. But it's just reflecting on what you did. And as you think about the type of person that you want to be, sometimes you got to go back and, because you can't redo it. But if you find yourself back in that position, I was recently at a show and I did some Wild Unprofessional mad years ago in the face of something Wild Unprofessional. And I was able to come back to do that, just happened to get back in that same venue like wild years later. And it was just kind of like, had to come to terms with, I could have handled that situation, whatever, let's call it 10 years ago, better. And I made a point to say that at the end of the show and thank the staff and do some other stuff. But it's, when you get the opportunity to come back to those spaces where you may have messed something or did something out of character, out of pocket, and you want to reflect on it, do it. That's really it. It ain't rocket science. All right, keep up the good work on the podcast. All right, it's Lupe Fiasco. Peace.
All right, so Lupe Fiasco, one of the greatest lyricists of all time. If you want to pause this and go watch the music video, Kick Push, do it. You won't regret it. If you love hip hop, you'll love that song. If you love hip hop, you should know who Lupe Fiasco is anyways. I don't know what I'm talking about. But as you can see, Lupe Fiasco's better moment was to say sorry. And that is something he did. So he went to a venue. He did some, as he said, some wild shit in the face of some wild shit, came back years later, and he was faced with the humility of it. And he said, I'm sorry. So that for him was the catalyst for doing better. And once you do it once you say, I'm sorry for something you did, because it's a very hard thing to say. Sorry is a very hard thing to say, especially when you've got a little bit of ego. Ego is the antithesis to sorry, I think. And once you get the chance to say sorry once, it's easier to say sorry twice and 3 times and 4 times. And then all of a sudden what you realize is you have become this person who is able to confront your worst self. And then when you're taking those actions, like I said, I'm sorry, what would you like me to do to make it up to you? When you take those actions, you are actively turning on a mechanism in this thing right here, not the skull, go deeper, the brain, and you're taking an action that creates a habit where, and I'm not telling you to be a doormat. Don't be a doormat. I'm not a doormat. Somebody does me wrong, and I'm coming. But if you're wrong, saying sorry and taking action to make sure that they feel whole again is probably the greatest way to understand all your weaknesses. So, for example, when I hurt that friend, and he's like, you got to do these three things to make it up to me. It taught me a few things. It taught me all the things I did wrong. Whereas prior to that, I would have said, well, whatever, like that's just the way things go because I'm busy, and then I would have never examined it. I would have never learned from it, and I would have never moved on from it and been better as a result of it. So being better as a mission statement is kind of like a pros and cons list, but of you. So what is the pro of you? What makes you great? What makes you awesome? What makes you a good person? And then what are the cons, right? It's like, oh God. It's the worst when you have to self-reflect and look at what's wrong with you. But I can guarantee you that if you do it, and sorry is a trigger for this, if you can do it, if you can actually do it, no matter what, you come out on the other side a better person and with more abundance, whatever the abundance is that you're looking for. So my good example of this is, I came from nightclubs, huge amount of lying happening in the industry, huge amount of deceit, a lot of just wild, evil stuff happening all around me. I get out of it. I start to realize the programming I had in that industry, and I start to try to deprogram. All of a sudden, you start to realize, oh wait, I wasn't actually happy. Why wasn't I happy? Oh, because I was doing nightclubs 6 nights a week, and I was promoting during the day, and then I was cashing out everybody and doing everything and putting together promo videos and everything after the bar shut down. So I was sleeping half an hour a night if I was lucky, and then the 7th day I was trying to catch up on my sleep. No personal life, no family commitment, no real understanding of why my relationships were failing, although obviously it's now completely obvious to me, and just no real self-awareness. And it really caused me to focus up on what abundance I wanted. So, in nightclubs, I was like, I just want money and power and all these things. And I had those, but I was miserable. And a subconscious miserable, which is probably the worst kind of miserable, because you're spinning your wheels and you don't even know that you're spinning them. And you don't even know why, and you don't even know how, and you don't even know that you're close to like a breakdown of some sort. Now, I don't mean like a breakdown where you're going to cry and everything, but a breakdown in your, just in terms of who you are as a person. You can't be yourself. Boys, it sounds like a self-help episode. But so anyways, so to put a bow on this, when you say sorry to someone and you take the actions to make it up for them, it becomes like a snowball going downhill, and you start to realize what is wrong in your life, what is wrong with you. You fix the things that are wrong with you, you get the things that are wrong in your life out, and all of a sudden you're living the life you want. And it's not even, for me, it wasn't even the life I knew I wanted. I had no idea. I didn't know that I wanted the life I have now. I have been in a relationship for over a year. It's about to be my longest relationship of my life. I can't believe that. I have this great podcast that's total therapy for me. I'm releasing a book, The Last First Date. By the time this comes out, it will be out on Amazon. Go cop it. I am back to doing my favorite event that I've ever run. I'll be doing a Halloween event this year called Fear. I am considering opening up a new kind of like lounge. I have time for family. I'm going on vacations a lot. I got through a big health scare. I feel good. I grew my hair again, which seems like a small thing, but I was bald for so long because I did not like my hair. And turns out all I had to do was style it. Who knew? So I've got all these great things happening in my life, and that is a result of focusing in, razor sharp focus on being better. That's it. And while it sounds easy, it's actually very, very hard. So where does being better start? Look at the things you're doing wrong. And even if you have to say sorry to yourself, and think to yourself, what actions do I have to take to make this up to myself? I know that sounds funny, but let's say, for example, I come from an industry of liars. So let's say lying is your thing, and you're like, oh man, I'm so sorry for being such a liar. And then you say to yourself, okay, how can I make this up to myself? As in, what can I do to stop doing the thing that I actually feel sorry for. And that's the really important catalyst of this whole thing. You have to actually feel sorry for it. If you're just saying it like, oh, I'm sorry for lying, and then you move on, it's nothing. It means nothing. But if you are able to say, man, I hate that I lie so much. And then you say, I'm sorry to myself for lying. How can I make it work? You build a list of things that you do, and then you actually have to follow through, which is the hardest part of it all. You have to follow through on your actions. And when you screw up, you have to pull something out of your life. I talked about this on a way old episode that I actually think it was the first episode of this podcast ever, about because I came from an industry of liars. I was lying at times. So I had this, like, I would take something away from myself that I purchased so that I could punish myself. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to lose that thing again or something else. So I really focused in and I became better. And now if I tell a lie, it hurts. It actually, I can feel my body recoil from it. I can feel myself get less healthy, as crazy as that sounds. So here are the steps. If you want to be better, if you're sitting here, if you tuned into a podcast called Better, all about doing better, being better, making the world a better place, I'm sure you have something you want to fix about yourself, something you want to make better in yourself. That's a step. Whether it's saying sorry to yourself or sorry to somebody else, you know what you've done. You know, right? I know when I've done wrong. God, the number of times I've apologized to Shauna in the last year, oh my Lord, it's a lot. Make that list and conquer that list. And you're going to be scared to do that. But remember these tattoos: conquer fear, conquer life. 18-year-old motto, still living by it today. And once you do it, I guarantee you're going to feel better. You're going to be better. You're going to do better. And if it's within your capabilities and within what you want to do, you will make the world a better place. Okay, so that is it for this episode of Better, where better starts. Probably should have been the first episode, but I come to these realizations as I'm moving through my life, and this is one that I've come to as a result of being with Shauna. So I hope that you guys have gotten something out of this. And if this is the start of your better journey, DM me or comment or whatever, share this episode, let people know, because the only way we can make the world a better place, at least the way I'm trying to make the world a better place, is by offering these personal lessons, because I was not better for a very long time, and now I am, and I'm hoping that I can help others just think it through. That's it. Just think it through. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a professional doing this. I'm just a guy who was at one time not a very big fan of himself, and now I feel like I'm better. Okay, so betterpodcast.live, that is our website. Go check it out. See you again later. Thanks for checking out Better. If you got to the end, it must mean you liked the episode, right? So how about 5 stars, maybe a sub, maybe a share, great universal comment points, and good luck on your better journey.